I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Today we are talking the latest in DC Entertainment, DCEU news, however you want to call it, DCEU news. We have Geoff Johns, who exits DC Entertainment for writing and producing deal. We have the at&t Time Warner merger, and we have a little bit of stuff on the latest Wonder Woman film.
Wonder Woman 84. Dun, dun, dun.
Woo! They've made 84 of them already? Holy shit.
I know, seriously.
Sorry, that was a corny dad joke, but whatever.
That was terrible. Anyway, and I can't believe I went with it.
Yeah, you did. I was pretty impressed. Hey, you're a pet parent. It counts. So and we're just fucking old and corny now. So here we are.
I was just trying to, I don't know. I was just trying to give you hope, you know, trying to back you up here.
Yeah,
like,
thanks.
You know, it wasn't that
Appreciate
bad.
It. Yeah.
So let's kick off with Geoff Johns exiting his DC role.
So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, the article that we're basing this off of. Geoff Johns exits DC Entertainment for writing and producing deal. Exclusive. So the current goodbye. Wait, can't really be saying that too much because I don't know the stuff we'll talk about with Green Lantern. This starts off with current DC publisher Jim Lee will assume the Chief Creative Officer position. The DC Entertainment President and Chief Creative Officer Geoff Johns, who went from authoring comic books to having a major hand in the movies and television, is stepping down from his executive post and entering into an exclusive writer-producer deal with Warner Brothers and DC. Johns is launching Mad Ghost Productions, a new banner that will see him work on content for films, television, and comic books, and have his hand in current DC properties as well as reimagined creations.
All right.
Do we want to talk about like the Jim Lee stuff? It's just like real small.
Is that because he's Asian?
We are very simple people with very small penis. Mr. Horse's penis is especially small. So small.
Wow. No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then.
All right. So at the same time, current. All right. Hold on. I could compose myself. I don't know if we should leave that in or not. All right. At the same time, current DC Entertainment publisher Jim Lee will assume the Chief Creative Officer position, taking on the duties while continuing to act as publisher with Dan Didio. The two have jointly held the post since 2010. The moves come in the wake of last week's exit of Diane Nelson, DC Entertainment's president, to whom Johns reported, and occurs the day before a judge's decision will be announced in the high-profile antitrust trial between U.S. Department of Justice and at&t, which we will be discussing that later in this episode.
Anybody that's ever worked for a company that actually has a merger or an acquisition in some sense, like a current company I work for right now, we're doing it. A lot of management gets kicked out by the dominating force, whoever is actually doing the acquisition or whoever the main force is behind the merger, basically the controlling part. A lot of the management gets dumped for that. So you might see not too far down the road Kevin Tsujihara's name come up on this. And I don't know, you could speculate all we want on why a lot of this management, John Berg, a lot of these guys got demoted, moved out, Diane Nelson, what happened with them. It could be because of what happened with Justice League. It could be other reasons, or it could be this, because they felt that the merger was going to happen. So Time Warner, they have to start releasing some of their upper management, and now they're going to be at&t people. It's going to be, or at&t appointed people. Anyway, that's not going to be fucking the phone guys, you know, in charge of DC Entertainment. It is, but I mean, it isn't.
Can you hear me now? Oh wait, that's wrong company. But you get the point.
What's Sprint now? Like what they're trying to copy that? Like what was it like?
Yeah, they have the same guy. But most reliable network is that? Oh, that's at&t.
I don't know, but he has like a new catchphrase now with Sprint.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Quick statement from Johns. He said, I took on a role at DCE because I love the characters in this universe more than anything, but I want to spend my days writing and on set. I'm thrilled to get back into more hands-on creative role. It's my dream job on dream projects, reaching even deeper into DC's vast pantheon of characters. As has been rumored, one of John's first projects will be Green Lantern Corps, which is obviously, as this article says, based on DC's intergalactic police heroes, which he's already familiar with, having spent 9 years writing Green Lantern comics and its spin-offs and publishing events.
Don't forget, he also was a producer on the 2011 Green Lantern as well. They leave that little part out.
It says John will write the screenplay and act as one of the producers on the feature film. He's already writing and producing Wonder Woman 2 and will have a co-writing and executive producing credit on Aquaman. This is this year's only DC offering, which is set to open in December.
I'd actually like to see if he actually legitimately gets a writer's credit, or if he's just going to be acknowledged as a writer on the system, or if he's actually going to get a writer's credit from the Writers Guild of America. Because you have to write a substantial amount of material to actually get a writer's credit. So I'm curious on that, if he actually does, or is he just going to be acknowledged by Warner Brothers, excuse me, for a writer's credit. That'd be interesting.
Are you talking Wonder Woman 2 or Aquaman?
Either one.
Yeah. I'm curious how much he is actually writing, and this kind of begs a question. You know, a lot of rumors and such that about Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins and their involvement with Geoff Johns and their relationship. It sounds like he's going to be kind of in there, so that they're going to be working on these together moving forward. I'm also curious about the Green Lantern Corps. It's kind of I don't know. I'm indifferent on a lot of the news. For me, I'm hoping that there's a direction that with all the shifts, Jim Lee's now stepping into more of a prominent role. Yeah, I'm hoping for some sort of direction and cohesive universe. And at this point, I don't really know how to feel. I don't know if Johns being the screenwriter for Green Lantern Corps is good or not. I'm kind of indifferent.
His role in the original Green Lantern of 2011, the flop that it was, he wasn't invested in that as much as some people like to say. He was a producer. He did have some kind of say in it, but again, WB corrupted the system. There was multiple rewrites on that script. I mean, it was a whole shit show on that one in general. The only problem that he did, the dumb thing that he did, was before the movie was released and it was wrapping up and it was about to be put in theaters, he was ramping it up, saying this is like the best superhero movie. I mean, he was going on and on. He was just bragging about how great it was. That was his big problem, was that he looked like a jackass afterwards, because he basically put a stamp on it, and then it came out and everybody's like, damn, like that was just bad. So that was his issue. So hopefully he will actually have a little bit more of a writing role in this one, because I think he deserves that at least. Mm-hmm. He may not have been good for other characters, but for Green Lantern at least, he definitely deserves a chance, at least in some sense, to have a little bit more say in the role than he did in 2011. So we'll see. We'll see what Green Lantern Corps brings us. I really hope that rumor is kind of true, that it's Lethal Weapon in space, and it's kind of like an older cop. Basically Hal Jordan being the older Lantern, and he recruits John Stewart, and you kind of have like this buddy cop system. I'd actually really enjoy that. I would really, really enjoy that type of system in Green Lantern. But who they could have as a villain, who knows? Because it's got to be Sinestro, and I'm gonna stick to that always, no matter what. A Hal Jordan first villain should always be Sinestro. I'm sorry, I hate to sound close-minded, but it's the only thing that makes sense. And then you can open up the Green Lantern verse from there, the Lantern verse in general. Then you can start opening up the different colored lanterns. But you need to start with Sinestro. You always do. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. We got the Time Warner and AT&T merger, laid down a verdict on it. A federal judge handed AT&T a sweeping victory on Tuesday and approved its $85 billion acquisition of Time Warner, the deal that promises to reshape the media industry. And from what I gather, actually, on this one, this was a huge victory for AT&T. There was no restrictions, no strings attached to any of this. They full on bought this straight up. Like, it was like me buying something at a yard sale. Like, there was no strings attached to this shit at all. There was no limitations to what they could do. They nailed it. So now that this is done, maybe now finally WB can start focusing on DC Entertainment, or others can start focusing on DC Entertainment now and actually get their heads out of their asses for the most part. It seems like it's been going in the right direction for now, but hopefully this actually means now we will get a better idea of what the hell is going on.
Yeah, it sounds like, man, AT&T, they've been busy for sure. Originally, you know, with DirecTV, they've been just swooping up and just really trying to put a stronghold on kind of the entertainment side of things. So that this is another huge win for them, and hopefully for the consumers as well, in regards to really settling in that, you know, there's no decisions being made that shouldn't, similar to Justice League, where, you know, things are all about, oh, we don't know about the merger and let's try to get our bonuses and blah blah blah, all that bullshit. So hopefully this is positive moving forward. Hopefully, as Matt said, they're not appointing people who don't know what they're doing, and people can actually settle into their roles, and Time Warner can move forward with the DC side of things.
In a quote here in the article, it says, "This was a defining case for antitrust enforcement in the U.S." Former Justice Department antitrust attorney Kenton Yavari, whatever, said, "It does seem to be a complete and total victory for AT&T. And what's amazing about this was that Comcast now was waiting in the wings, waiting to see what the verdict was going to be on this before they laid down the fucking hammer. And today, Comcast announced that they're going to, after the approval of the Time Warner deal, Comcast now has made a $65 billion cash offer, cash money, motherfucker, cash money deal for Fox Studios assets."
What everyone wants to know now is, what are you going to do with all this money?
I'm going to reinvest my money into the community.
Oh, that's a very nice gesture. What were you... Okay. Is that your son?
No, I just bought this baby cash.
Meaning now they have laid down a bigger offer than the original, I believe it was $55 million offer that Disney laid down. So they have thrown their dick in the cog work again, and here we go. So now Disney and Comcast are going to have a spat over the 21st Century Fox Studio assets. And actually, on the idea of that, as soon as this deal happened with Time Warner and AT&T, stock for Disney actually began to drop. And Comcast stock actually went up because they could see this was going to happen from a mile away. And now Comcast has laid down a $65 billion cash offer. And from what you could tell with the stock market and how people are reacting, it may look like that Comcast might acquire those 21st Century Fox assets.
It also means that Comcast, parent company of this network, will most likely launch its bid for Fox assets at once and doesn't want Disney to get. Hence why Comcast stock was trading down in after hours and the stock of Fox was soaring and Disney stock was getting hurt too. This decision is important enough and so pro-merger, frankly, that I think it's going to help a whole host of industries that are thinking of consolidating. It's a huge positive for tomorrow's market.
So Disney may not get the X-Men back like every short-sighted person has been wanting.
Yes, it's a much bigger player, and there's a lot more that goes into it other than just the X-Men being in the fucking MCU. I think what's really intriguing is when you kind of see how all these companies are playing against each other. To me, AT&T and Comcast are huge players in that they're cable companies, and they are really trying to acquire rights to movies and shows and libraries, essentially, so that they can have a stronghold. Disney, as gigantic as they are, they don't really have that. They're just a content owner, and and obviously they have their parks and things like that. But I think that's huge. And on the AT&T side of things, it's going to be really intriguing to see where they go with kind of, as I mentioned earlier, the DirecTV. I know one of the things I was reading with AT&T's acquiring Time Warner, they're trying to really build up their foundation to possibly accelerate a lot of their wireless networks. That's just kind of a side thing that they're attempting to do and offer it at a cheaper price to be competitive in that side of the market. And then on the DirecTV side of things, they want the content of Time Warner so that they can have a stronghold in that area as well. And if you're a customer of theirs, then you can possibly see some benefits. And I think that's really intriguing with kind of the DC online, what the streaming service. I can't think of the name right now. Yeah, DC Universe streaming service. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays in to this whole thing. Maybe it's going to become an AT&T product. Who knows? It's going to be kind of interesting to see how it all plays out. But I don't think it's bad by any means.
Well, the only negative thing I could think of is for our wrestling fans out there, which we do have a couple. Think of it this way, in what could possibly be a negative. If you remember back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Time Warner actually did a merger with AOL. And when they did that, AOL started pushing the WCW product away. And they didn't want wrestling a part of their association anymore. So it became AOL people in charge of WCW, and ultimately that was one of the big problems with WCW and why it collapsed and went out of business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think though in this case, AT&T's their whole plan is to own, you know, the movies, the shows.
Oh, they want all the assets. They want these assets. They want these assets. But you got to remember, WCW was the highest rated show. It was one of the highest rated shows that they had. Yeah. And they still pushed it away. Yeah. And they still pushed it away even though it was their ratings champion at the time. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes business people can be really stupid. So,
yeah, very true. Yeah.
Just because they don't like a certain material. So I'm just saying, if you got some people out there like, we don't want to deal with the comic books and stuff like that. You know, I mean, obviously not because
I love the accent.
Obviously not because that's a bigger market than ever. Superhero movies in general are just a huge market.
Yeah, it's not so lowbrow as pro wrestling is in certain aspects to a lot of business people. They're like, wrestling, you know, like you said, as opposed to, oh shit, because it's not just the comic book library. I mean, you're talking Harry Potter. I believe a lot of the Lord of the Rings, I want to say is, so there's a lot of that's a huge library that fortunately DC just happens to be a part of, and you know that's a big win for AT&T. I'm curious to kind of see how things unfold with that. In addition to the Comcast, I mean they're flopping their dick out and they're saying, all right Disney, all right Mickey, bring it.
You don't fucking talk to me like that! You little piece of shit! Get the fuck up! Get the fuck up! Now, do we have a problem?
No, sir. No, Mr. Mouse. No, Mr. Mouse.
Oh, that's good, because I thought we had a problem for a minute there, huh? All right, now, get out there and make me some goddamn money!
All right, now we're real quick. We're just going to jump over to, we got some Wonder Woman 84 set pieces. I don't know why. It just, the kind of the way the poster looks, it just kind of feels like a little old school Terminator. I don't know. I just feel like dun-dun, dun-dun every time. The original Terminator. Or you could say 1984. We can go some Orwell here. I don't know. Anyway, 84 is just kind of an odd name. But Wonder Woman 84. So we got some set pics. Some people have been speculating that Steve Trevor was going to be back in the movie. Some guy took a random video from about 1,000 feet away and said this dude in a jacket was him with his cell phone camera. And like everybody's like, Steve Trevor's there. And like you can't fucking tell if it's a tree or a person this guy's videotaping. But everybody was wondering. And now we've got some official set pics. And it shows Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, all in his fanny pack goodness, standing right there. There's some pictures where they're walking. And I'm trying to figure out if that's actually part of the movie, if they're filming at that point, or they're just walking around in their clothes. I can't tell.
I mean, the fanny packs have made a comeback. So it's either them in the 80s or now them currently, and he's just rocking a fanny pack. It's hard to tell. Funny side story, I did have a mullet as well. But I just took my kids to Disneyland, Universal Studios, and my whole goal now that I'm in my 30s, or I am 30, was just to be kind of that embarrassing dad. I missed on a couple things, which I was kind of disappointed with afterwards, but I was rocking my quarter zip, windbreaker type shirt. I bought a fanny pack that I was rocking. I was wearing a dad hat. So I was pretty stoked, and I was just looking to embarrass them. And what I wanted people to see at Disneyland was, look at this just old white guy dad. Like, there he is, the stereotypical dad there. And I had a couple of people who were like, oh, did you wear the socks with sandals? I'm like, no, that's what I should have wore. That would have been it. The high socks with sandals. And
with the stripes on them.
Yeah. Exactly, with the stripes, and then that would have done it. But I was
some really short shorts.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So all that's making a comeback. Shorter shorts and fanny packs. It was a little more difficult to find the fanny pack, but I was stoked about it. I was stoked about my pulling off my dad look, but yeah, embarrassing my kids. So that's just a random side story of me and being an old white man now.
I like how you had to throw in the white part. That really cements it right there.
Well,
that really
yeah,
brings it home for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it does. If you're some of our listeners and you're trying to picture like a stereotypical white guy, like white dad, then boom, there I was, just fucking walking around with Disneyland Mickey Mouse shirt. Had a Mickey Mouse shirt going. So that was me. I'm like, yeah, I was
Did you play Holiday Road as you went down there? Holiday Road. Anyway,
exactly.
Anyway, back to the Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right, reel it back in.
So everybody's been speculating, like, and I see a lot of people saying, how is Steve Trevor alive? And I don't want to say it seems kind of obvious, because who the fuck knows what they're doing, but it seems pretty obvious to me it's a hallucination. One, he's young. Two, if he was actually like alive, he would more than likely be really fucking old. I mean, I heard some people say, is this the Captain America syndrome? Was he frozen in ice?
That would be very hard to pull off, because he doesn't crash. It blows up, right? From what I remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it blows up. Spoiler for Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah. So that would be really, really tough. The only thing is I'm wondering if it's like a relative or something, because he is in 80s clothes. Like, he's got the 80s Nikes that he's rocking, kind of the aviator jacket.
The fanny pack.
Yeah, the fanny pack in some of the photos. So I feel like it might just be a relative, and maybe that kind of messes with her a little bit. If they have any continuity with Justice League, you'll know that he's, and BVS, then you'll know that he's not alive. So we'll kind of see how that plays in. I'm intrigued by that. Just like I'm stoked for Captain Marvel only for the nostalgia reason. I'm also excited for this. I'm curious to see how they kind of loop in the 80s, like you mentioned with Terminator. You know, different movies that came out in the 80s. We are more so 90s kids, but obviously raised on a lot of stuff from the 80s. So I'm curious how they incorporate a lot of that into this.
Yeah, I saw some people saying Lazarus Pit. I'm like, I don't think they're going to introduce the Lazarus Pit in a Wonder Woman movie. That seems a little odd to me. I think, I'm just throwing this out there. I have nothing to back this up on, but I have a feeling that Cheetah has been announced as one of the villains, but more than likely, they're not going to have just Cheetah. There's got to be a little bit more brains to the operation than just some physique. And I still think one of the biggest Wonder Woman villains you got to have in the DC universe is Circe. And maybe Circe is doing some manipulation here. Maybe she's messing with her, tweaking with her, making her think that he is alive when he's really not, and shit like that. That's the only thing I could think of. And that's what I kind of thought of as a kind of hallucination or some kind of spell. Because that just seems like the best way to introduce that character. And I think that character is a big deal to have in the Wonder Woman universe, because I don't think it's going to be a god. I think they're done with the gods, because the way the story was told in Wonder Woman was all the gods were dead except for Ares, and then Ares died at the end there. Spoiler for Wonder Woman. I don't think it's gods anymore. So I could see Circe being the manipulator of all this, and that's just my best guess. And because of the lore of Wonder Woman, I feel like that's a villain that they want to introduce into this, get some magic going, and that way it'll be pretty cool. We got some Harry Potter action.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. That thought had not crossed my mind. That's definitely that's an interesting take on it for sure.
Okay, so you don't like it. You don't like it. Okay.
No.
I didn't think of that stupid ass thing. I guess that's I guess that's an interesting take. Way to go, brain dead
Right.
mother.
Oh well, actually, I'm pretty brain dead right now. I was trying to say, yeah, that's a great point, but I wasn't sure exactly how to say it. And then it came off kind of condescending. So there we go.
Yes, sure. Well, that's a great point you got there, Johnny.
Good job.
You want a solly pop?
Oh man. Well, one more thing I wanted to throw in, just for kind of the Wonder Woman DC universe type news, since that's what this episode is about. Just wait to see a lot. I've seen so much negative bullshit on social media. It's really irritating the crap out of me, whether it's the Wonder Woman of like, oh, that'd be so stupid if it's the Captain America ice thing, or I can't believe they're gonna bring him back. Just fucking wait to see. There's also a lot of news, a lot of rumors, and Matt and I don't really like to cover them because it's fucking flip-flopping all over the place. But with the young Batman possibly being in the Batman movie, Ben Affleck's now out, the Joker
I guarantee,
movie.
by the way, that's a fucking flashback. It's a fucking flashback, and they're blowing it all out of proportion. I guarantee it's a fucking flashback, you stupid fucks.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. That was it.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.